Hello and welcome to week 4 of the Momtrepreneur Mastery Class. This week we are talking about the business systems. Now, let's face it, all of us have businesses or starting businesses, and it's like our second child. We put so much time and effort and energy and our heart into it that we start it with the idea of getting this freedom or income, added income and happiness, and sometimes we just roll with the punches as we go. But what we need to do is create systems within our businesses to allow us to do just that. So this week, jump on board as we grow our business babies. Today, we are starting lesson 1, which is about the SWOT analysis. Now, I know you're saying, what the heck is a SWOT analysis, right? So a SWOT analysis, or SWOT analysis, is a simple yet extremely powerful tool or technique that helps you identify your strengths and weaknesses, but also allows you to analyze your opportunities and threats that flow through those. So I know you're looking at this and you're like, but how can this help me? What the heck is this going to do for my business, right? So to succeed in life, just in general, it is extremely, extremely important that you identify your talents and your strengths and you utilize them to the best of your ability. So the SWOT analysis is going to help you do just that by identifying these very special talents that you have or strengths that you have. And likewise, you will suffer fewer problems and issues if you identify your weaknesses. Now I know a lot of us, we tend to shy away from our weaknesses because that's a very vulnerable point for us. But by identifying them up front, both our strengths and our weaknesses, this is going to allow us to identify opportunities, and it's also going to allow us to avoid or eliminate any threats that are on our path. So we're looking at this, and we do have a couple of things that we have to consider when we are talking about our SWOT analysis. So the first thing that we want to make sure that we consider when we are working through our SWOT analysis is to consider both your own perspective and the perspective of others. So sort of take yourself out of the equation for a minute and think of yourself from another person's perspective. You have to try to be honest with yourself while doing this and be as objective as you possibly can with yourself. If you're not 100% sure, ask someone that's close to you. But this one's a big one. Just be open and willing to listen and possibly accept some criticism. Because again, I know that this can be a very vulnerable thing for us. But remember, this is only going to help you. So you need to make sure that you do this with an open heart if you are going to ask someone to help you. But what I'm going to share with you are some of the things that you can ask yourself when filling out your SWOT analysis, because it can often be really hard at first. But so you don't have to worry about it. In your worksheets for this week, I have provided you with a blank template for a SWOT analysis that you can find there in your assignment section. So once you get to that point, you'll be able to fill this out. But I'm going to go over each section with you here and provide you with some questions that you might want to consider. So we are going to start with our strengths. So let me get back here. So our strengths, we want to ask ourselves these questions. What advantages might you have that others might not have? What do you do better than anyone else that you know? I know sometimes it's hard to give ourselves a pat on the back for certain things, but you have to. You have to really be honest with yourself here, even on the strength side, which I know is so hard for some of us. So what personal resources can you access? What things do you have in your corner pocket or in your back pocket, right? Or in your corner, either way. What about you have other people commented on that made you feel maybe proud or happy? So things that people maybe have said to you, because oftentimes we shrug it off like, oh, they're just saying that. But when people say stuff to you, listen, they might really be saying something that can help you by identifying some of your strengths. Which of your achievements are you most proud of? What values do you believe in that others might fail to demonstrate? And lastly, what connections do you have that others might not? That's a strength as well. These are all things that we can look at that can help us build our list of things that we can provide. And this is also going to help us when we get into identifying our opportunities. What do these things help us open the door for? So keep this in mind, but these are all questions that you might want to consider when filling out that portion of your SWOT analysis. Now, the second part is our weaknesses. Here, we're going to ask ourselves things like, what tasks do you usually avoid or procrastinate on because you don't feel confident? Now, I know you procrastinate on things. I do it too. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And sometimes it's just because it is something that is either a weakness of ours or something that we really just don't like doing. And when we talked about our pricing for profit and we did our breakdown, those are the things that you want to consider as well. You know, like, where can I pay somebody else to do this, right? But it's really important to pay attention to those things because it might just be a weakness of yours that you need to focus on and overcome early on. So what has anyone ever said maybe negatively about you that could be a weak spot for you, right? This one might hurt a little, but you have to admit these things. Where are you least confident in maybe your education or skills training, right? Where might you be least confident? And what are your negative work habits? We all have some of these. So are you often late or start your work late? Are you unorganized? Do you not handle stress well? What are your negative work habits? And lastly, do you have any personality traits that hold you back? I've seen this quite a few times, but do you have a fear of public speaking? Are you inconsistent or unreliable? Do you have a lack of self-confidence? What are those things? Again, we all have these things that can hinder us, but we are looking to identify them so we can work on overcoming them early or figuring out ways to work around them, right? All right, so now that we've identified our strengths and our weaknesses, we are going to turn and look at our opportunities. This is the exciting part, right? So what new technology can help you maybe? If your industry is growing, how can you take advantage of the market? Do you have a network of strategic contacts that can help you? What positive trends do you see in your company that you might be able to take advantage of? Even in small businesses, guys, we can recognize these things, and you have to keep your ear to the ground to know what is working and what might not be working so you can identify those opportunities. Is the competition failing to do something that you might be able to take advantage of? Is there a need in your industry that no one is filling, right? That one's really, really important because you might be able to step in. Do your customers complain about anything that you can or might be able to offer a solution to? Do any of your strengths offer untapped opportunities in your market? So again, go back to your strengths and one by one, see if any of those open up any doors or any opportunities for you. And lastly, can you open up any opportunities by eliminating any of your weaknesses, right? So maybe by hiring somebody else to do a part of your business for you, that might alleviate a little bit of the stress and open up this door to opportunity. So these are all things that we want to look at to see where we might have those doors and windows open up for us that we can move into. All right, and last but definitely not least are the threats. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning, everybody, when they think of threats, they automatically go to the competition, but that's not always the case. Threats can come from within as well. So what, if any, obstacles are you currently facing? This might be something that you just haven't had a chance to do because you maybe, going back to your weaknesses, you don't feel as confident in. Is your market changing? I think a lot of people experienced a big change with this pandemic in 2020. So what changes might have happened for your market that you can look at, and it might be a threat that you can work on overcoming? Is the demand for what you are doing changing? What, if any, threats does your current competition pose? So we do want to look at the competition. I always like to say that we are our only competition, but the fact of the matter is there's other people selling sometimes what we're selling, and we need to make sure that we are keeping up and growing, just like Instagram. You know, Instagram felt this threat of TikTok and immediately it put into effect Reels. So we have to always be looking at the competition that's out there. Is there any new direct market competition, right? Do any changes in technology threaten your position in the market? And might any of your weaknesses lead to a threat as well? So again, these are all things that we're looking at within our SWOT analysis. And it's really, really important that you do the SWOT analysis because you are going to use it in a couple of the future lessons that we have here in week 4. So you want to make sure, oops, I went backwards. You want to make sure, or forwards, I should say, that you are going through this SWOT analysis in its entirety. So completing this really, really simple analysis, as you just saw me go over, it's going to provide you with some really, really key information. It's going to allow you to put your problems into perspective, but more importantly, and most importantly than anything, it's going to tell you what needs to be done and what steps need to be taken to minimize or completely avoid any threats and to take full advantage of any opportunities that are available to you. So for for lesson 1, week 4, our assignment, if you haven't guessed it yet, yes, the assignment is for you to fill out your own SWOT analysis. So utilize the questions that we went over and referenced here. And remember to use your own perspective as well as the perspective of others. Acknowledging these things is just the first step though. You'll use your completed SWOT analysis, like I mentioned, as I will explain to you in future lessons. So you want to make sure that you are filling this out completely. I know it sounds like a silly exercise, but I cannot tell you how many times this has helped people overcome things that were just getting in their way that they just never pinpointed, or how many times this has helped people by opening up doors to opportunities that they just never sat down and took the time to think about. So you want to really sit down with this and make sure that you are filling it out completely. Ask somebody for help. Ask somebody that's close to you who might have a little bit of insight. And again, just be willing to take that criticism if it's handed to you, and just understand that all they're doing is helping you. So I hope you guys enjoyed lesson 1. This one's a quick one, but once you're done here, go ahead and head on over to lesson 2. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.